Dskate presents Gametime. We sit down with Francois Brassard, a professional hockey player recently played in the ECHL and is a core member of the Dskate team as a goalie coach. Enjoy.
My name is Francois Brassard, and I actually do not have diabetes, but I've been involved with Dskate for, I want to say, 3 or 4 years now. I've been an instructor for the goaltenders since second year of the camp, and I'm currently a professional hockey player after having played 3 years at Carleton University in Ottawa.
How did you even get involved into hockey?
My dad was really involved with hockey. He's a sports journalist. He follows the Ottawa Senators around, and he's on the beat with them. So at a young age, we had a rink in my backyard in Gatineau here, and I started skating. My older brother was skating in the backyard, and that's what got me into skating really early. I think I was skating around the 1.5, 2 years old. I was skating out back or playing with hockey stick and stuff. So I think that's how I mostly got into hockey in general. And my dad was a goaltender, so I've always wanted to be a goaltender, and obviously my older brother needed someone to shoot on, right? So I strapped on the pads pretty early when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and yeah, I've been a goalie and been in love with hockey ever since.
Wow. So is your brother a forward then?
Yeah, my older brother was a forward. Yeah, he quit hockey when he was about 13, but when we were young is essentially all we did. And my younger brother was playing in the backyard after as well.
Yeah. Well, that's like the funnest times, growing up on the pond or backyard rinks, still just playing. That's awesome. So with that, can you explain like where you played throughout your career so far?
Yeah, I started off, so obviously I played my minor hockey in the Gatineau area, and we had a travel team that we would go to Montreal on weekends, the AA, AAA teams. We would end up going to Montreal every weekend to play our games. And then when I turned 16 to play midget AAA, I actually moved to Montreal after getting cut from my team here. So I actually moved to Montreal to play midget AAA in Lac Saint Louis for the Lions, and then from there I ended up getting drafted to Quebec City in the QMJHL, and I ended up playing 3 years there after making the team my 17-year-old year. So 17-year-old, 18, 19-year-old year, I ended up playing there, and then I got traded to Cape Breton in Nova Scotia in the same league. So I ended up playing half a year there, and then finishing up my junior career in my hometown in Gatineau. So it was a hell of a ride in juniors, a nice, good 4 years of my life, and then. Afterwards, I had a tough decision to make between going to school or going to play pro, and I ended up playing pro for about half a year before going back to school and getting my degree at Carleton.
That's awesome.
And now I finally made the jump back to pro, back to the East Coast Hockey League, and I've been playing in Maine for a little over a year now.
That's so impressive, and just moving around and bouncing. And, yeah, especially your Carleton career, you just excelled there. And I think one thing you forgot to mention is you were drafted by the Ottawa Senators. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty crazy ride. I was drafted to the Q at 16, and then I didn't really know if I was going to make the team at 17, and I ended up making it. And then the next summer, it was my NHL draft. So it was a pretty crazy 2 years to be drafted twice in 2 years to different leagues. And I mean, obviously it was an honor for me to be drafted in Ottawa. That's my hometown pretty much, right? Gatineau and Ottawa are really close. So it's usually the team I would go and watch. And then obviously my dad's a journalist and he follows the team around. So it's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. But it was a team I grew up watching, and it was really fun to get drafted here.
With that too, that must have been really hard transition, especially playing in the QMJHL, and then even to like, I got drafted to Ottawa, I gotta go to Cape Breton and come back to Gatineau. So going through that transition, and then the next big transition you did was go to university. Can you explain how it was like being a professional playing hockey all the time and then being a student athlete?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a crazy transition. But playing in the QMJHL, I still went to school pretty much every day. I had maybe 3 classes a semester, I think. So I would go 3 days at school right after practice. So we usually had practice in the morning around 8 a.m. And then we'd get out and then go to school in the afternoon, right? So I think going to university was obviously a little bit different with a little bit of, bigger course load and time management wise, it was a bit harder. Schedule kind of stayed the same as we'd go to the rink in the morning, practice say 8, 9 a.m. every day, and then hit the weight room and have our classes in the afternoon or at night. I think it was a bit of a similar schedule as in juniors, and a little less hectic having no games on the weekdays. So we would only play on Fridays and Saturdays, right? So I think it was a pretty smooth transition, and having done a lot of school while I was in juniors, I think it helped me. I didn't have to take as many classes a semester, so I only took 3 or 4 classes a semester at Carleton. So it was a little bit easy on the workload for me as opposed to other guys who didn't really go to school in juniors where they had to take 5 a semester. So I think I made the right choice while I was in juniors to take a lot more classes, and I think it saved me a lot of time and effort going to university.
Awesome. What did you major in while you were at Carleton?
I got a major in psychology.
Nice.
So I felt like it was a good tie with sports and hockey, and I took a bunch of sports psych classes to kind of tie it all together.
How much do you like psychology impacts your game, especially as a goalie?
I think it's 80% of my game is mental game, right? Goalies, you're on your own the whole game, so you're talking to yourself, or right, you're alone with your thoughts for most of the game, and bad things happen, good things happen throughout the game, and it's all about trying to find a level of being calm and composed throughout the whole game, not getting too low, not getting too high. So I think being able to balance the good moments and the bad moments in the game, and to try and focus on the next things happening. I think it's a mental game, and it's the same thing for players, but I think for goalies especially, the mental game is what really defines you.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I definitely cannot block shots, so kudos to you. Oh, that's awesome. Now you're playing you played for Maine this past year on the ECHL. What, with everything's going on in the world, what does the upcoming year look like for you, do you think?
I mean, it's a little bit uncertain. I don't really know what's going on with the league right now. I know the NHL is coming back, but I'm not sure how it's going to impact the minor leagues. Right, I was still hoping for another NHL camp. When I went to the Rangers camp and then to Hartford last year, so it's definitely going to impact my September, October definitely a lot more, and so it might be a little bit of a late decision as to where I'm going. Right now, Maine has my rights still, so if I play in North America, it's most likely going to be in Maine again. Still hoping for a shot at the American Hockey League for next season, but yeah, it's really going to depend on when the league can start, and if not, I might have to go to Europe.
Yeah, no one knows. Like, I think that's like across the board. It's so ambiguous, and we chatted too a little bit, like staying in shape. So like right now, like, can you just give a quick overview of how you're keeping yourself mentally and physically prepared?
Nowadays, I can skate once or twice a week, so that's a little good on the on the body and on the mind. That was probably the longest time I haven't touched the ice in a long time. But yeah, I've been running, biking a lot, and just trying to stay in shape, just trying to stay active. Find something to do every day, to not just sit at home and watch TV or play video games, right? So just I've been going on runs, on hikes, and have a pretty good bike here at home. So whenever it's nice, I would like to go for a nice bike ride.
Nice. I'm so glad that you're keeping on top and finding alternative ways. So definitely it's going to show with whoever, like, everyone coming back to the season, of who's really putting in that effort, because everyone's in the same boat that way. So that's great. What advice do you have for upcoming hockey players, especially goalies?
Most importantly, is to still find a way to have fun at the rink, right? A lot of times there's a lot more pressure, especially with training camps coming up, and who's going to make the team and who's going to, be the best and all that. But I think at the end of the day, you get to go to a rink and have fun with your friends. And I think that's what kept me going and what kept me playing all these years. And, I've been playing somewhat professionally or in juniors for about 10 years now. And I still get to go to the rink and have fun with my friends. So I think, keeping a positive attitude and, knowing why you're playing hockey and why you fell in love with the game at the first time is, you get to the rink, have fun with your friends.
This is Game Time with Anissa Gamble. In this period, we're talking with Francois Brassard about his Dskate experience. So the first thing, how and when did you get involved in Dskate?
I've been coaching with Michel Valliere for about 12 years now in the summer while playing hockey and while going to school. So I think he's the one that really got me into the Dskate, and I couldn't make it the first year of Dskate. Unfortunately, I had other camps going on to work at, but then I saw how much my friends loved working there and how they loved being involved with the Dskate community, and I ditched the other camps a little bit to get towards Dskate and have a good time.
You guys look like the funnest instructors. Like, you guys just look like you're having fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, he gave us a green card pretty much to have as much fun as possible. Obviously, we have a lot of kids on the ice and there's a lot going on. So I think, keeping everyone motivated and like I've said before, you're going to the rink to have fun with your friends, right? And we're a group of coaches that we were all friends to begin with. They're somewhat involved with each other, and we just kind of stuck together now in the summer for about 8 to 10 years, and slowly we're adding guys and girls to our group in the summer. So it's been a fun ride working with this group of guys and girls, and obviously Dskate makes it a lot funner. It's a bit more of a family environment, and we get to see the same faces every year, so it's always a good time.
Yeah. And I think it's so cool when you go to Dskates, a lot of the kids, like, they know who you guys are, and they get excited just as much seeing other people from Dskate. So I think that's something really special about the camp. Can you describe, like, what's your role when you are attending and working for Dskate?
Dskate, we have a bit of a different role as our regular camps. Regular camps, we usually have be involved with the off ice and all that. But I think with Dskate, I can be a little bit more focused on ice. And being a goalie myself, I teach the goalies on the ice, and I get to go around. And the good thing about Dskate is I don't have too many goalies to work with. So it's a little bit easier to have some one-on-one time and, get to know the kids as well, and not just having them push too hard and just being a goalie for an hour and a half while we're on the ice, right? I can, have a little bit of chat with them at the same time, and you get to see them again off the ice and, have lunch or whatever, have some snack with them. And, it's a bit more of a relaxed environment where you have not as many kids, and the kids are just more mature, right? Having lived with diabetes, you have to be aware a lot of what you're eating and what you're doing, and the intake in your bodies, and you have to listen to your body. So obviously the kids at Dskate are a lot more mature than the kids who usually get to at regular hockey camps.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, it's so unlike another hockey camp, because you might be doing a drill or something, and then 10 kids gotta go off for a juice box, or
Yeah, a little bit unpredictable, but it's still fun.
Yeah. Do you find that, like it's hard as an instructor too? Like, what have you been learning as you continue attending Dskates?
Obviously, not to push too hard in the first 30, 20 minutes of the practice. If you want a kid to be on the ice and learn for an hour and a half that we're on the ice at the same time, you kind of have to pace yourself, and there's a bit more instruction, a little bit more, you can get a little bit more in depth with the technique and all that, especially kids are, they're really attentive, right? They're listening to you, and they know, obviously being more mature than regular kids, they can pick stuff up a little quicker, and so you can get into more details, and obviously having a little less less kids on the ice, so you can really do more one-on-one time. So I don't think it's a bad thing that you don't have to push them and keep them moving all the time. I think it's good that you can slow down, have a chat, and then explain why we're doing things a certain way, or get into the position and the technical about the position, and I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, and even from a player's position, Dskate's a great time because you get to try out things. So, if you do want to go hard at the beginning and see where your sugars go, you have that
Yeah.
support staff of like, certified diabetes educators just on the bench or your own group, and just you're surrounded by other type 1 diabetic hockey players. So, and with the staff too, like they understand. So I think that's something that's very special and unique, that you can do this, whereas in a normal hockey camp you're going to be the only one on the bench with a juice box. It's pretty
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't always have the yeah, you don't always have the luxury of, taking a little break and going on the bench to make sure, everything's okay, and have the nurses look after you and know when to pull you out to make sure you have a snack. When you're in a regular practice, I think kids are still trying to fit in with the other kids, right? You don't want to be that guy or to get off to take a 5 minute break, like you. And I feel like it's a good environment for kids to learn and to really know how to listen to their bodies.
Especially being a goalie, like you can't, there's no shifts as a goalie, you're out there. So
Yeah.
I think that's really
Yeah.
challenging. And I think it's so cool that, like, that's what you're kind of doing at Dskates, is you're the goalie coach. And so just allowing them to explore that and being there to support them, I think that's so special and unique. What's your favorite part about Dskate?
I think my favorite part is that you get to hang out with the kids and the families all day, and we do a lot of activities at night too. So you get to really know the people, and it's definitely, when we say it's a Dskate family, it really is a family. We have the group on Facebook, everyone's connected year round. Not just for those week at a time or 1 or 2 weeks at a time. I think it really is a family environment. It's all mostly the same staff year after year, with some additions here and there, and you get to see new kids come into the group, and the kids are really good at bringing new kids in, and letting them fit in with their friends. And I think it's really important to have a support group like that, especially with kids with diabetes. I think it's really important to have a nice support group, and other kids are living the same situation as you. And I think that the whole family environment is what really makes it special.
Yeah, that's for sure. It is such a nice, tight knit community, and it's really special. Why do you think it's really important for people living with diabetes, especially kids, to even attend a Dskate camp?
I think the support first and foremost. You have the not only the nurses, and you get to try out new things, and different snacks available to you, and you have all those classes while you're off the ice as well, right? And you get the experiences with all your family, and most camps you get to bring your brothers, sisters, or even a friend sometimes. So I think it's important to you know be able to have that environment where you can learn about yourself. And then obviously on the ice, we get to be on the ice about 3 hours a day, right? So we get to do a lot more one-on-one time. We don't have, we have good instructors, and the less amount of kids on the ice that we have in our usual camp. So we get to spend a little bit more one-on-one time with the kids. And I think we can develop some good hockey players at the same time.
In this period, we're talking with Francois about how diabetes has impacted his life as a person who does not live with diabetes. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, before Dskate, did you know any other athletes who were living with type 1 diabetes?
I didn't know any personally. I haven't had the chance to have one on my team to learn a little bit more about it. So I think I learned more. Obviously, I knew Max Domi had it, and that's pretty much the only one I was really aware about. It came to my attention that some guys in the league when I was in juniors had it, and it really opened my eyes to, as they had to live through a lot more than I did at the time. So I think just learning more about diabetes really opened my eye to what other people live through that I had no idea about.
Can you even describe, like, those aspects of diabetes that you learned?
Yeah, obviously the nutrition aspect is probably one of the biggest ones, and to control your blood sugar at all time, and to know what zones you're comfortable in and what zones you can push yourself through. So I think it really amazes me when kids know, they know they're getting a little low, so that they can, go to the bench and rehydrate, or get their snacks in to really keep the same level of energy. So it really amazes me how how at the end of the week they can control a lot more, and they learn to listen to their bodies a lot. So
That's awesome. Is there anything that you've taken from your experience at Dskate about diabetes and implemented it into your like hockey training or playing or daily life?
When I started working at Dskate, I never really paid attention to what I was eating. Like nutrition wise, I was never really a guy that paid attention, and it really brought to my attention, anything I put in my body, it's really going to affect how I play, right? And a lot of those classes and meals that they offered at Dskate, I really learned how it affected the blood sugar level, and I didn't know how it would affect myself. While I don't have diabetes, I think nutrition is still a big part of the game. And, I've been to Dskate about 4 years now, and I definitely improved my nutrition off the ice. And I think it was a big part of how I can get to camp ready. And, especially in the summer where I never really paid attention to what I was eating. And I definitely pay more attention now.
As a teammate or staff, what advice do you have for people who can support other people or teammates who are living with type 1 diabetes?
I think it's the biggest one is to, keep an open mind and to make sure to have an open dialogue with your athlete, right? If you're a coach and you have a kid on your team that has diabetes, to not be afraid to ask questions and to make sure they're comfortable, right? So I think to make sure your kid is comfortable living with diabetes, on your team, and maybe to also educate your teammates.
Thanks for tuning in to Dskate Presents Gametime, Episode 8 with Francois Brassard. Be sure to follow Francois on social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Dskate for more sports and diabetes content. On behalf of the Dskate team, I'm Anissa Gamble. I'll see you in the next puck drop. Cheers.